folks, it's me again. I have I often get a question, and I always get this video is devoted specifically to one topic: Visegrips. Even though this is what brand is this? These are Barcalo or Barcelo, Barcalo, locking pliers. I've been asked about 50 goddamn times or more, how come you have so many Visegrips? Well, the reason why is one, I'm a Visegrip addict. But before, it all started when I was building a welding project about, I don't know, it was like 12 years ago. No, wait, probably 15, 16, 18 years ago. I was at my other house when I first moved in, had my garage, and I was into Austin Minis, buying cars. And we were asked to make something. I went to make it, and I had like 3. And I was trying to clamp shit, and I had just bought a welder. I had a grinder. I literally had nothing. I had that grinder. Had a welder. I think I had a chop saw and a few things. I had enough to get by. I had like 2 angle grinders, and basically it was like, shit, I need to go buy this. Shit, I need to go buy that. And the one thing I learned was, no matter what you do when you're making something, you can't build a project with 1, 2 pairs of Visegrips. You need to hold stuff together. And I was like, we were building this big, I think it was a sign. And I was like, fuck, this is ridiculous. And I decided at that point, I'm going to make sure I have at least 4 of every Visegrip. Not because I, it's like, oh my God, I got to have 4. It was because at the time, 4 of them was about what I would use. And it wasn't every single Visegrip. It was just mostly the giant C-clamp ones for welding. I had 4 with the pads and 4 with the little, I could show you, but it's over there. And basically 4 of maybe like 2 different kinds, big ones and small ones. And then it was like, well, hey, they got those ones. So I got 4 of those ones. And it spiraled out of control. And we needed them. Another time a friend of mine came in here and I was putting the welding bench together, and again, why do you have so many clamps and Visegrips? Well, this welding table had a buckle in it. It was about in the middle, it was buckling about maybe a 1/4 inch. You could see it on the level. And I was trying to weld it to the table. I had made the frame, this steel plate, which is 4 feet by 3 feet, weighs at least 200 pounds, or maybe 150 pounds, I don't know. It's a 1/2 inch thick, and it's freaking heavy, and I almost fucked on my back trying to lift it, just get it. I was like dragging it. So I called him over and put on. He said, "Well, why do you have so many?" And he was selling me anvils. And so we put an anvil on the table. I think I have a 30-pound block of aluminum, and we pushed the buckle on, and I clamped like maybe 10 pairs of Visegrips. And I said, "This is why I own." It wasn't just Visegrips. It was like C-clamps and everything, trying to get the steel plate to get the buckle out of it. And I had the big ones in the middle, and it was pushing it down. We got it within like maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It was a little bit, but it was pretty flat. This it's not perfect. It's not, by no means is it machinist perfect whatsoever. It's like carpenter flat. It's flat enough for be whatever. And he's like, now I get it. And I told him, and I think he was here when I was building the frame, and I was clamping the corners with the little woodworking angle clamps and shit, and putting it all together. And I said, this is why you can't get away with more than 1 clamp. Then I used to go to flea markets and like, hey, $2 for Visegrips. Now they're like $10 everywhere you go. But I go to the Santa Stash flea market here, and I bought several of the giant clamps. They were like now they're $148 a clamp. I think I paid like $20-30 each, and I've used them several times. I don't use them very often, but I do use them. And now I have an army of clamps. I have the vintage ones, and then when I started making YouTube videos 3 years ago now, I just started doing videos on. I picked up a couple of weird ones. Like, you know what? There's all kinds of cool like other ones, and I just started buying them, and I have 2 drawers full. I think I have a box over there full of welding clamps. I have them on my bench, and I probably got 100 pairs of clamps. Locking pliers. Clamps, it's a whole different story. I have about 100 pairs of locking pliers, and when it comes to C-clamps, there's a whole nother pile in here. There's a shit ton of C-clamps in here. Those are good for cranking it down. The only thing I haven't been able to acquire is those bridge clamps, those really freaking rigid. I think they call them bridge clamps, the big C clamps. They're huge, and you can like put a tremendous amount of torque on them. But I have a shit ton of these. I have a ton of clamps, and depending what you're doing, if you're doing any weird project, you need clamps. Like I have so many old bar clamps. My dad have. If you look, see that right there, that clamp. That's one of my dad's old bar clamps. I think he used it to make the cabinets at our house. The only time I ever seen him, I think he was making the cabinet doors for my mother's kitchen, and I have them now. I think there's one over there and one over here. I bought some more of my own. I bought some shitty Harbor Freight ones, but I was doing something, and they come in handy. And I'll admit it, like everything in my garage, you know, maybe if I live another 20 years, I might not use everything in the next 20 years, but there's things, it's like tap-in die sets. You use them once a year, you know, good the parts bin, but it's better than buying shit, like brand new every time. And the stuff nowadays sucks. It's the same thing like why do people say, why do I have so many bolts? Because every time I need a bolt, you can't find it at the store. So I go through my wall of bolts over there, and every time I take some apart, I keep the large bolts because you find the right thread. The only problem is you can never find like 17 of the same bolt because you only took like 6 off the fridge. But that's why I have a lot of clamps and locking pliers. Lately, I've just been buying weird ones. If I see one for like $10 that's odd and has a little different release mechanisms or, you know, something different, I just buy and make videos out of them. And I try to make sure that in order to keep using them, I try to make sure I use them. And if I'm doing a video, I'll try to make sure I use one of the old tools in the video so you get to see the thing work. Oh, that's also forgot. The other reason why I have a lot of clamps is because I also have a lot of what I call burner clamps. Those are the ones that are not vintage. They're not worth anything, but they will be used to be sacrificed with a welding machine. And if you have nice clamps to use for working every day, and like this one's a nice old one, I'm not going to sacrifice an older locking plier just because, you know, whatever. But when you're using a plasma cutter, a grinder, or whatever, and you're going to torch the thing, like basically use an Irwin, no longer Visegrip. I'll take a newer Irwin clamp, which you can replace for $22, a C clamp, and I'll clamp it down. I'll just grind it and weld it, and you'll get welding splatter, and it'll destroy it. One of the good clamps for those is the Harbor Freight clamps, the Brenner, I don't know what the hell brand it is, but they're pretty decent. They lock down, they work great, they're cheap, and if you want to melt the shit out of them and weld steel to them, they're great. I don't know what the breaking point is, but it seems like nowadays they're all made the same factory. They're all made the same specs, and they're all the same design. And sometimes the rivets are solid, and sometimes they're not. But they're good to just, they're basically like grinding discs. They're disposable. They're very hard to dispose of, but they're disposable. You want to cut them up and make something, you buy a cheap clamp and you whatever. Walmart ones are questionable, but actually, believe it or not, I've bought some Walmart clamps and they're actually getting pretty good. Why? Because they're all made at the same damn factory in China. Some of the other stuff like Nipex and whatever, some of these brands are a little bit exceptional. With that said, that is why I own lots of clamps. Why do I own lots of mini vices? Why? Because I like to collect them. But some stuff I just like to collect. And also, my other answer to that question is the one who dies with the most tools wins. I am certainly not the winner, but hey, my goal is to leave my kids at least 2,500 pounds of solid ore, meaning iron ore, sitting here that they could sell off on the road. Or my son might like take over the thing and just have fun with it. Who knows? We get someone to become a welder and be like, have fun. Plus, I like to fix things and like to break things. So with that said, that's my reasoning for owning a ton of clamps. That's why. Oh, also, you could sit here all day with a vice grip and go, ta-da! There's something about fidgeting with things. And that's one thing I should say. What is it with these sensory devices? People like sensory toys. You know what this is? This is a sensory toy. Every kid should have one. You can even censor their finger off too. Anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click some buttons because you never know when I might become infamous and jump out of a plane and whatever, become like super Uber, whatever. Anyway, if I ever become YouTube famous, I'll invite you all over because I'm never going to be YouTube famous. Might be infamous, but hey. Oh, and the only reason why I want to get monetized so I can buy pizza. That's my goal. Monetization, buy pizza. Thanks for watching. Toodles.